The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7. Seems like a lot of Christians don't bother reading the Bible. Welcome to another episode of Noah's Snark. I'm your host, Atheist Josephina. Human beings arrogantly assume they're intelligent creatures, having compared themselves to lower life forms that haven't invented wheels, money, or TV. Well, birds don't need wheels, monkeys barter sex for food, and lizards didn't write that awful final season of Game of Thrones. Now, to be certain, humans do have a knack for turning abstract thoughts into inventions, and for gathering and synthesizing information to predict the future or create models that predict behavior. But if that's all our definition of intelligence encompasses, then I'll retract what I'm about to say about human intelligence. That is, that humans are not really that intelligent. By the way, I'm discounting our ability to communicate in a variety of ways as a facet of intelligence, because many animals can do that too, though maybe not with the same complexity. But I discount the complexity of human language as a measure of intelligence because the same complexity also drives a great deal of misunderstanding. Now, on occasion, humans do display an ability to reason, which is the other common requisite for intelligence and is the link between abstract thought and invention. But if we're talking about how often we collectively exercise the ability to reason, especially in our day-to-day lives, then we don't seem all that intelligent as a species. It seems that a number of other so-called intelligences take precedence as we go about our lives. Interpersonal intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, etc. While using reason to create tools to predict the future is great, rare is the person who takes reasoning seriously as a tool for running their lives, much less the lives of anyone else. We're all aware of the headlines that alert us to common acts of stupidity, such as the man who calls police to report the theft of marijuana he was illegally growing in his attic, as commonly reported by sources such as News of the Weird and the Darwin Awards. More examples of human stupidity include building huge cities in earthquake-prone areas, or otherwise congregating huge numbers of people in areas prone to natural disasters. Living in a trailer home in Tornado Alley? Well, I'm sorry, that's just stupid. Giving teachers paychecks that are dwarfed by multi-million-dollar athletes and rappers because the human need to be entertained is greater than the human need to be skilled or educated? That's just stupid. Oh, and have you ever heard Donald Trump speak? Not only is he clearly a fucking idiot, a very large number of stupid people thought it was a good idea to hire another stupid person to run their lives. The average human is about as smart as a box of rocks, and that's probably giving people too much credit as well as being an insult to rocks. While these sorts of headlines and examples tackle the everyday stupidity of humans, there are far worse examples of humans not exercising their supposed intelligence. Take, for example, the eagerness of the agricultural industries, Big Ag as it's known in the United States, who stealthily implement genetically altered foods into our food chain without studying the long-term effects these foods might have on us or the environment. Sure, many GMOs appear safe in hindsight, but that wasn't known when they initially went into full-scale production and consumption. Here, the aforementioned ability to synthesize information in order to predict the future goes right out the window for the sake of the short-term monetary gain by a minute handful of people. We might also take, for example, industries that pour their toxic waste into the atmosphere, rivers, and oceans, thus endangering our most important resources, our air and our water. Moreover, what of energy companies that intentionally suppress the advancement of clean, renewable energy? And what about something like cloning? International law notwithstanding, surely humans will soon be cloned with regularity. Who will control this technology and for what purposes? Are they really going to think about it, or are they just going to implement those technologies? Sadly, our ability to create is forever outpacing our ability to philosophically or ethically deal with the intelligent, Dr. Frankenstein within us. Tell me now, is that a true sign of intelligence? That's a good question to ask oneself, especially when one believes in a deity. Meta-studies appear to indicate a correlation between intelligence levels and the strength of a person's faith, where the more education one has appears to lead to a higher percentage of agnosticism and non-practicing theists, if not outright atheists. There's a reason why religion is not taught in public schools and colleges, because it's not compatible with reason or reality. If a theist is to seriously think about human intelligence, they should find themselves asking exactly why any supposed intelligent creator would create an intelligent species with such an incredible capacity for stupidity. Why would God create something so dumb that it would proclaim itself in the face of the entire universe as the pinnacle of creation? We're talking about an entire species dedicated to confirmation biases. The thinking seems to go as follows. We don't know of any life as intelligent as humans, therefore humans must be the most intelligent beings in all the universe. But we should continue to ask questions about our intelligence. Why would God create humans with such poor reasoning skills who are constantly making choices that endanger their lives or otherwise make themselves unhappy? And why, in the name of all that is holy, would God like to be worshipped by these idiotic creatures? Even the robots that humans build do not require that the robots worship their creator. A possibly reasonable answer to these types of questions is that God, were he to exist, is a friggin' moron. But we do have to give credit where credit is due, for in a single stroke of cleverness, God gets off the hook for creating such dumb things as people by virtue of their faith. That's right, faith, the dumbest intellectual position a person can commit to. This is what excuses God from having made humans as unintelligent as they are. Human beings are so unintelligent that it takes something like a human to create and define the word intelligence, assign the word some nebulous moral value, and then proclaim itself to be intelligent. In much the same way that God cannot be moral by proclaiming itself to be the standard of morality, humans cannot be intelligent by proclaiming to be the standard of intelligence. By the way, before I forget, I don't want to imply that I'm intelligent. All I know is that I know nothing, which is something all truly intelligent people recognize, right? Now, naturally, someone's going to disagree with me and say something like, well, other animals aren't smart enough to ask themselves why they exist. Which goes to show you exactly how stupid humans are, as they completely ignore not just the problem of other minds, but particularly the problem of other animals' minds. Perhaps it's true that other animals can't ask themselves why they exist, but what's the ancillary question here that everyone misses? Is asking oneself why they exist an intelligent question? Seems like the intelligent thing to do here would be to ask that question first. All things considered, whether humans are intelligent is a matter of perspective. As pointed out by the Greek philosopher Xenophanes, if horses could talk, they would imagine horse gods. One could give numerous examples of human intelligence despite, but for every example one could give in favor of human intelligence, 10 examples of human stupidity could be given in response. There's even an entire YouTube channel dedicated to stupid people doing stupid things. It's called Fail Army. And Fail Army has 17 million subscribers compared to its contrarian channel, Win Army, which has a mere 100,000 viewers. So not only are humans stupid, they delight in the misfortune of others as well. Humans are also far more arrogant than they are intelligent, which explains why any given religious apologist never retracts bad information or arguments, or considers the possibility they could be wrong about their ideas. Sure, it does happen, but that is certainly the exception. All of this doesn't bode well for the argument that human beings are intelligent. But let's get back to who is considered intelligent by stupid people. That being God. But is God intelligent? If we're using something like the Bible as evidence, or even human anatomy and physiology, then that answer is going to be not so much. In the Bible, God didn't seem to know what the result of setting up the Garden of Eden would be, doesn't see that the flood doesn't solve anything, sends himself to be a blood sacrifice to circumnavigate a rule he came up to begin with, and forgets to mention the modern-day popular conception of hell in the entire Old Testament and merely hints at it in the New Testament, something that you think would be really important. As far as the alleged design of human beings goes, where do you want to start? With a spine prone to injury? A poor sense of smell relative to other animals? Our mouths being what we both eat out of and breathe through? The need to breathe oxygen, which makes up only makes up 20% of our atmosphere, the inability to synthesize an essential vitamin, vitamin C, the limits of the human body in adapting to extreme environmental changes. It's amazing in some respects, but it's also the wet noodle of the animal kingdom. It's a shit design if it is designed. Of course, God, if God exists, could be more intelligent than us, relative to us, sure, but is that all it takes to be a god? Why would God even make us if we're going to be dumber than God? Humans, by contrast, created AI to supersede us, not to be so dumb it would worship us. Did God make us so stupid that we would worship God? This God might be intelligent, but that also makes this being vain. And there's enough arrogant people in the world without there being an arrogant God, too. Then again, God allegedly made us in his image, right? Well, I highly doubt that because we have no observable evidence of God or gods. Thank you for listening. Hopefully I've given you some food for thought about the intelligence of human beings and God. For Noah's Snark, I'm Atheist Josephina, aka AJV. Until next time, revel in reason and love the logical.